Welcome back to the second, even more and better and more and improved or something
Wow.
episode.
And he's a professional broadcaster, people.
Yeah, fully caffeinated too. It's the heat. I mean, seriously, I am literally boiling. The AC's been cranking nonstop here for like 2 weeks, and it's like every part of me is sweaty. I'm sweating under my nails. My balls are sweating. I'm fucking dying here. It's just the worst. It's horrid.
But you hate weather. By the way, before we jump into I did want to pass this along. I was going to do it in a phone conversation, but I can do it to you right now. It's not that big deal. Canada is changing its, oh my God, Ted, help me. I'm having a senior moment. The visa change, they're changing their visas. So if you work remotely, they want you to come there and they'll give you a visa for 6 months to hang out. I would give that a look because you hate being this hot. I think he would.
Canada now has the climate I grew up with.
So
I'm going to chase my climate up there. Well,
did I ever tell you this? I was a finalist for the job in Edmonton a million years ago, back in the 80s.
That's Alberta?
Yeah, it's the furthest north major Canadian city. And we were interviewing. I was living in and was a native of Southern California. So we were talking.
I would have been all over that fucking job. All right.
Anyway. They liked me. I liked them. They were very nice. We're doing the phone interview. And I said, okay, well, this sounds, wow. Okay.
Dude, how's the heat?
No, I said, well, I'm a little concerned about the weather. What's that like? And they said, Ted, to a Californian, a Southern Californian, it's not that bad. We only have snow on the ground roughly 8 or 9 months out of the year. And that's when I went, and declined any further.
That would have been like that all. I'd be like, yeah, all right, let's do this.
Oh, come on.
Oh, no. Edmonton, if you're listening, operators are standing by. Rall is ready to come up there and work for you. And for those sweet Canadian, what are those called? Loonies. I'm doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now he's on record.
No. I was in pretty tight negotiations to go work at a newspaper in Anchorage, and believe it or not, the alt weekly there was going to pay me a full-time salary. Anchorage, the Village Voice wouldn't pay a full-time salary, but the Anchorage Press would. And anyway, they were like, I was all about it. I'm like, but the money wasn't quite good enough because Anchorage is expensive, and yeah. I was like, because everything has to be imported. And, but I liked the rest of it. I was like, the weather sounds great. I'm all about it. So that conversation reminds me of, I met a guy in Uzbekistan. We were talking about, he was from Moscow, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, the famous Soviet hockey team was from Uzbekistan. And the one that, had the famous Olympic match with the US. And I was like, it's so fucking hot here. And they were like, oh, it snows here. I was like, it snows here in Uzbekistan? Oh, yeah. They're like, it snows here, but not like in Moscow, where the guy like puts his hand. He was tall. He was like 6 feet tall. He indicated like 8 or 9 feet high. And he's not wrong. That can happen in Moscow.
But that appeals to Ted, does it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let's bring on that. No, Moscow sounds great to me. I mean,
so do you want
even better? Beautiful city.
Do you want me to forward that story about Canada? Because in all seriousness, during the summer, you probably would love to do that.
Yeah, dude, do forward it. Although I don't really know why you need a visa, because we're Americans. You just cross the border. I mean,
no, but you can't stay. And I think this also gives you access to the medical system. And
ooh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, send that to me. All right.
Okay, so Texas. Stars Texas, at night are deep in.
So CNBC,
deep in the heart of Texas.
CNBC.
The yellow rose of Texas is the yellow rose for
worst
me.
States to live in the United States last week. The rankings come from the network's yearly research on the best states for business. Of the 10 criteria for the list is life, health, and inclusion, from which CNBC determines the best and worst places to live. They allocate 350 possible points to each state. They measure categories like per capita crime rate. I think that's fair. Environmental quality, also fair. Healthcare, also fair. Worker protections, I think they're important. I'm not sure that that's really a quality of life issue. They also look at anti-discrimination laws, voting rights, access to childcare. Surveys indicate that many women consider reproductive rights in deciding where they are willing to live and work. So CNBC also includes abortion laws in this category. Texas is number one worst place to live in the United States in the year 2023. They received 53 out of 350 points, giving it an F on its worst states grade, the lowest nationwide. The worst states to live in are, in order, Texas, slightly less shitty, Oklahoma, still shitty, but not as shitty, Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama, tied with congratulations, Scott.
We're number 4. We're number 4.
Missouri, Indiana, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Florida. Vermont won the spot of best place to live. Residents are statistically stress-free, healthy, the best air quality in the United States, has the most accessible childcare, broad anti-discrimination protections. Remember, it has Medicare for all statewide, easy access to voting. Following Vermont is Maine, then New Jersey.
Yeah, you explained that. I thought that was weird. You have to circle back to that when you're done with the list.
Minnesota, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, Massachusetts and Colorado, and Connecticut. So I'm going to say Vermont. They probably should have put in the mosquito situation. They have, because that's bad, man. In Vermont in the summer, oh, it's ugly. I mean, Vermont's lovely. It's beautiful. The people are great. It's sparsely populated. It's like America like it never was. You know, it's like Norman Rockwell, like all the farms, the barns are painted, bright red with like a white trim. The cows all look like healthy and happy. Vermont's lovely, but in the summer, man, the skeeters are crazy.
Tell me about New Jersey. How did that make that list that high up that list?
I don't know. I'm going to guess it must be the worker protections. I mean, they have property taxes that are fucking murderous there. The traffic situation is pretty brutal. One thing that's cool about New Jersey, though, unlike Vermont, New Jersey is almost like, how like Springfield in The Simpsons has everything. It has the country, it has a canyon, a beach, it has slums, it has nice neighborhoods, suburbs. It's like New Jersey's kind of like that. It's like France is kind of like that. It has beaches, it has grim industrial areas. It's got very ethnically diverse areas, very ethnically non-diverse areas. It's rural, it's suburban, it's urban. It's got places, it's got horse country, it's got pine barrens. New Jersey, in a very small area, basically an area the size of Metro Los Angeles, is like, it just has a lot going on. So if you're bored, just go a little further away and you get a completely different experience. But I don't know if that's really necessarily like a quality of life issue. I don't know why. And I don't think Maine is that great either. Maine's pleasant, but it ain't no Vermont. I mean, Maine's a little bit, boring, and like there's no cell phone service in most of the state. It's kind of bleak. The people are frankly kind of blah and not very friendly, I'm going to say. Lobster rolls are to die, though. I'm going to say that. Minnesota, it's fucking cold.
Yeah, it's Ted's kind of place.
Also mosquitoes in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Serious mosquito. I think I'm going to contact CNBC and tell them you really have to include mosquitoes in any kind of calculation of quality of life.
To go back, but the thing is, like, Texas, worst state in the union to live in. And I'm going, okay, but it's also like the second or third fastest growing state. People from especially from the states that were on CNBC's nice list, are moving to Texas. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to Nevada. They're moving to Arizona. And they're moving away from Oregon, Washington.
That's true.
And that's, I think, the places that they like have these onerous taxes. People want to move away from there, especially retirees. And there's a lot of them.
Well, CNBC is telling them that they're wrong.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
The other thing about like in defense of Mississippi and Alabama and South Carolina is these are small, they're poor states and they're small states. Did you know, I didn't know this until recently, which I guess I should have, but I don't. Mississippi's population is like 2.4 million.
Yeah, there's not many people living in that state. And I think, I think the abortion thing is probably having a disproportionate effect on this list. I think if you took that, I mean, that's obviously, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about it. And maybe it is essential, but it's definitely making this list the way it does. I would definitely take issue with Louisiana being considered a shitty place to live, or Florida. I mean, Ron DeSantis aside, Florida's got awesome beaches. People are really quite lovely. There's great food depending on where you live. Florida really does have it's almost like paradise in some ways. And Louisiana is fucking super interesting. It's got New Orleans, which is like the coolest city in the country.
Right. But outside of New Orleans, Louisiana kind of sucks. It does. It's poor. It's rural. It's kind of stupid. It's just not a great. But you're right about New Orleans. One of the most remarkable cities in America.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, so I guess we're not going to really argue about this. So if we're not going to argue, we should just move on to something where we are going to argue. So
all right.
Stay right here. We're going to get back and argue.